Time now for our rants and raves of the week. Starting with you, Dan.
I have a rant for the Los Angeles Times for doing a kind of a shaky job of handling a good idea. Earlier this year, the Times said that they were taking some foundation grant money to enhance their education coverage. Well, the Washington Post had a very good report earlier this week showing that the education funding is actually coming from a few foundations that are very all in on charter schools. So they've got an agenda. And the Times has been off and on about making the proper disclosure in their coverage of these issues. Now, the Times says the source of the funding is not affecting the substance of their coverage in any way. I don't know whether that's the case or not. The Washington Post doesn't really call that into question. But with these kinds of novel arrangements that I think are a good way of paying for journalism these days, you've got to keep your eye on transparency and full disclosure.
And, obviously, potential conflict of interest.
Absolutely.
All right, Kelly.
This is a rave for journalistic follow-up. Some people may be very familiar with an iconic photo, which, full disclosure here, is a little upsetting for people even still. It's a dramatic photo, and it's of Kim Phuc. She was 9 years old at the time when the napalm was dropped in Vietnam, and she's running away. That's her in the front because her body was on fire and she ripped off her clothing. Well, the photographer that took that shot is now 65. His name is Nick Ut, and he's been sort of following her whole story for all this time. And she now is getting treatment to relieve the pain and pressure of the scars that have afflicted her for all of her life, and he's still capturing the photos. She's getting this treatment, this special new laser treatment in Miami. And I just thought, wow, this guy took that shot June 8th, 1972. It's 2015. She's 52 years old, and he's still following the story. And I think that's an important tribute to
that's
hold
great.
up.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Justin.
I've got a rave this week for Facebook, of all places,
Really?
but it ties into local news. Facebook very recently announced this new program called Instant Articles. It's sort of a tool that they are rolling out to different publishers that will make stories load faster within Facebook. The idea being that it will introduce news to more people's lives because there's so many people who are active on Facebook. Publishers, the incentive for them is that if they join up and they sell ads themselves, they'll be able to get all the revenue, and if not, they can do sort of a revenue split with Facebook. And they've released some information this week that shows that those articles are doing very well. People are sharing them a lot more. These stories load like within 1 second, which can make a lot of difference when it comes to how you read and what you read online. They started off on the initial rollout of this program with a lot of the bigger publishers, places like the New York Times, BuzzFeed, The Atlantic, but now they're going to open it up to everyone. So if you are a local media company, if you are the Boston Globe, if you are the Journal in Providence, anybody can use it now. So it's interesting because within the confines of Facebook, you can use this new tool that will help people discover stories, read them, and share them a lot faster. The downside, obviously, is, again, that this is all within Facebook's playground. And so publishers, again, need to be very careful with that. But it's potentially really good news because that'll introduce a lot more stories to people that they can read, where a lot of people are reading news today, which is inside Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. They need to start reading more, as we said earlier. John.
I have a thoroughly disgusted rant for the Obama administration. This is not partisan. In a couple of years, we'll be talking about the Cruz or the Rubio or the Trump administration doing the same thing. But the administration has broken its own record for censoring government files or, I'm quoting from an AP story here, outright denying access to them under the U.S. Freedom of Information Act. A law, by the way, a law. And just to give you an example, White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest made a fool of himself responding to this report, saying, we're really proud of our record of transparency, which, I'd laugh if I weren't so busy crying. Just to give you an example of how absurd this is and Orwellian, the AP got hold of emails responses to a FOIA about who pays for Michelle Obama's dresses. Not, in my mind, a hot journalistic topic, but it's the law. They blacked out a sentence under a part of the law intended to shield personal information, Social Security numbers, but they failed to censor the same sentence in a subsequent page. Want to know what it said?
What?
That could have been a threat to privacy and security if it were released. Quote, "We live in constant fear of upsetting the White House," end quote. There you have
All right,
it.
I have a quick rave for my colleague right here, Justin Ellis, who's going to be leaving the area, Harvard, and going to ESPN to work on the magazine. No, seriously, we've really enjoyed having you here on Beat the Press since we've gotten to know you the last couple of years, and it's been terrific. And good luck doing that. And if you're ever back in town on a Friday, give us a heads up.
I will absolutely do this.
Congratulations.
Congrats, and drinks are on you. You get the big
Congratulations,
check now.
Tell them to back off on Deflategate.
That's it for our show. Tell us what you think. Email us, tweet us, or leave us a comment. We're always on at beatthepress.org.